PowerPoint in this time, third time lucky. Are you seeing anything? Oh, okay. Okay, great. So away I go. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Sorry about the delay. Us Luddites and Facebook, you know how it goes. Anyway, I wanted to welcome you and say that I'm very excited about this opportunity to be able to present for the Better Nights, Better Days program. My name is Carrie Brown. I'm a professor here at the University of Alberta. And I also wanted to acknowledge that our university is on Treaty 6, and we also have a satellite, so we're also located on Treaty 7 territory. And these are traditional lands of First Nations and Métis people. And it's very, very much a privilege to be able to share this space. So what I'm going to talk about today is that sleep, well, sleep can seem like a balancing act, can't it? Because you know, just like learning to walk, right? We don't start off running the marathon. We have to stagger around and try to figure out how to get on our feet, and then we fall down on our back ends, and then we get up again. When we're little kids, it's funny to watch them learn to walk, but they all get there. And then when you think about sleep, it's the same thing. We don't automatically know how to sleep well, and sometimes we learn bad sleep habits. So this presentation is to explain some of the benefits of learning to sleep well, so that, you know, there's a lot of trade-offs sometimes people make about what they're going to have in their lives and what they're not going to have. And so I'm hoping that by explaining some of the rewards more clearly, you'll understand why you want to balance things a little bit more towards the sleep side for your children. The rewards are truly, truly wonderful. So the first reward that we want to talk about, obviously, is physical development. Now, there's a substance that's called human growth hormone, and it's produced, your body makes it while you're sleeping. So for children, this is really important, right? This is the time when a lot of growth and development occurs. And we need human growth hormone for our muscles to grow stronger, for our bones to be strong, for us to be just generally healthier and stronger people. Human growth hormone helps us recover from injury, so a broken bone or a cut or something like that. It also helps us recover from disease. So that healing process is all affected by how much human growth hormone our bodies are able to produce. Metabolism is another thing that human growth hormone affects. You know, are you digesting things properly? Are your hormones being regulated properly? A lot of things are going on. So, you know, we don't want to minimize this, and it's something that sleep is so closely related to. So that's one reward, right? More sleep or better sleep, better physical development. Whoop, went too fast there, sorry. The second reward, I want to skip over this reward because it's really important actually. The second reward has to do with having a healthy heart and reducing the risk of any kind of cardiovascular problem. Sleep gives our brain a chance to take a break from stress. And we know that stress creates all kinds of hormones and chemicals in your body, things like cortisol and cholesterol and all kinds of other things that when they build up over time, they can increase your risk of having cardiac problems. Now, I know that doesn't seem like a big deal for a 2-year-old, but remember, these things build up over time, and 2-year-olds become 20-year-olds who become 40-year-olds. So do you see how this pattern, it's a balancing act, isn't it? Things that we do when we're young and that we learn when we're young, we carry forward in life. And I guess the other take-home message for this is a lesson for parents and for grandma and grandpa and for siblings too, right? We all need to get a good night's sleep. We all, you know, run the risk of having negative effects if we're not getting a good sleep. So that's the second reward, a healthy heart. Reward 3, this has to do with the ability to be healthy as well, and it has to do with fighting germs. When we're sleep deficient, so when you haven't had enough sleep, our body isn't able to produce the cytokines. Those are the germ fighters, right? We need cytokines in our body to fight off infection. So if we're not getting enough sleep, then we're going to be more vulnerable to colds and to infections and other kinds of illnesses. And we all know how many germs everybody is exposed to these days. And when you think about children going to daycare and family members coming home from, their workplace or from school or something like that, bringing all kinds of germs, these are things that are important, right? So if we want our kids to be healthy and to be able to fight off the germs, they need to have that good night's sleep. Now, I would suspect some of these rewards, I'm not telling you anything new, you knew that already, but I'm trying to give you some of the science behind it. So here's the fourth reward. There's fairly good evidence now that sleep deficiency interferes with appetite regulation, which means that there are certain chemicals our bodies produce that either turn our appetite on or turn our appetite off. And when we're sleep deprived, research has shown that our appetite does not get turned off the same way. So even though people have had a good meal, they still feel hungry. So that, of course, contributes to, to overeating and putting on excess weight. And again, it can build up over time. So that's one of the other rewards, right? You're keeping your body able to regulate your weight properly and to produce the hormones you need to turn your appetite off. And the fifth reward. So this one has to do with attention span. And that's something we know all children, it's important for children, right? Because these are the years when they're learning, they need to attend to new things. They are learning about risks and hazards in their environment. There's a lot of stuff to be paying attention to. But sleep-deprived children are more likely to be distractible, so not able to stay on task. They're going to be more impulsive and more moody a lot of times. And the interesting thing, the research is showing us that there appears to be what's called a bidirectional relationship, which means that children who have health conditions that interfere with sleep, right, are going to have more trouble attending, but also children who don't attend that well are going to have more trouble with sleep. So it goes both ways. So if we can do something to improve the sleep, then we know that we're going to help children be able to attend better. So it's a bidirectional relationship where the neurodevelopmental disorders interfere with sleep, and the sleep deficiency increases negative symptoms of the neurodevelopmental disorder. It goes both directions, right? So that's a fifth reward. So right now we've already seen 5 really important rewards for children. And again, these are things that carry forward through life. So setting up good sleep habits when you're young makes all the difference in terms of trying to keep some of that risk down, and your ability to perform and have, to be able to do what you need to do during the day that much more effective and easier, not always a struggle. So the 6th reward has to do with improved learning. It's pretty clear from all of the research and just from what we all experience and we see in everyday life is that sleep helps us learn. One of the things we know is that sleep helps children attend more in the classroom setting. It helps with remembering. So when you learn something and then you have a good night's sleep, you are more likely to remember it the next day. They've done some very interesting studies with older kids, teaching them something and then having them, some of them are sleep deprived that night and then others have a good night's sleep. And the sleep deprived children who have been studying don't do as well as the children who actually went to bed, had a good night's sleep. They have better memory the next day. The other thing sleep helps us in terms of learning is that it helps us consolidate memories. And that means organizing our thoughts and our memories. So while we're sleeping, your brain is busy working away to sort out your memories, remember what's important, sorting them into the categories of things that are not that essential to remember, like what you had for breakfast. But the things that are important to remember, things like what you learned at school or that, touching a hot stove is not a good idea, those sorts of things. It helps us to recall important information. So people who have had a better sleep, children who've had a better sleep, are more able to access the memories that they have. And also in terms of learning, it helps children have a more positive and happy outlook. So they're not as stressed when they're going into a learning situation. There's not as much interfering. They're actually enjoying being at school or in the daycare. So, these are not all automatic things. They're things that, there's varying degrees, but anything we can do to help a child have a better sleep is going to contribute to their being able to attend better in class, to be happier about being there, to be able to remember things better. Oops. Sorry, the seventh reward. So this has to do with safety. Again, one of the things that we're seeing through the research, and you likely observe it yourself, is that when children are sleep deprived and when adults are sleep deprived, they tend to be more impulsive. So the reward for better sleep is less impulsive behavior, less risk-taking. People who are well rested have better insight and they can solve problems better. They don't do things impulsively. They're more able to look at the options and see, no, this is what I should do. Because remember, their memory is that much better, right? So they can call on past learning too to help them out. We also know that safety is improved because of physical coordination is improved. So remember that human growth hormone, that strength and development and stuff like that. So this feeds into it, right? If you have stronger, more coordinated body, you're not as likely to have accidents. The other thing we see with better sleep is decreased aggression. So people are better able to regulate their emotions. They're not as likely to lash out. So that improves somebody's safety. And remembering too, and I've been saying it through all the slides, these issues carry forward, right? So if you don't have good sleep patterns as a child and you carry those forward as you grow up, and suddenly you have access to even more things that can be dangerous to you. So, teenagers have much more access to alcohol and to drugs and to motorized vehicles and things like that. So the risk of safety doesn't go away. The risk to their safety actually increases. So that's 7 rewards. I know I've gone over them very quickly, but I've given you references so you can take a look and read more of the details. I've tried to keep this fairly basic so that, I'm not badgering you with information, but just to help you see that it really does make a difference, that balance is important. So sleep helps children balance the challenges of life, basically. It keeps us more resilient, it keeps us healthier, keeps us more on task and emotionally, stronger. So reducing the consequences of a child's sleep deficiency also improves the well-being of the whole family. And I think that's important to stress because well-rested children mean that parents are going to be better rested, right? So these are not just strategies for a child. These are strategies for a whole family to think about. How can the whole family unit be better rested? So that's all I wanted to talk to you about today because it's a very short presentation, but there's a lot of information in there for you. And the thing you want to take on board is, sometimes changing sleep patterns, it's not an easy fix. I certainly appreciate that. And sometimes, you can't do everything, but you can always do one thing. And sometimes just that one thing can make a huge difference. And I think, like looking at the picture that I gave you here, at the end of the day, if we took one stone away, the whole thing would collapse, right? Well, it's only one stone. It's a small thing, but it makes a huge difference. And it's the same thing with sleep. So we want to build a resilient system that has many, putting all those little pieces together, because none of them are great big on their own, but they can all build up to make a more resilient system. So thank you for that. And I'd like you, to encourage you to learn more about the Better Nights, Better Days program. This is a slide that you can find on the Facebook page that's recruiting people who want to be involved in a research study to learn how to help children get a better sleep. And there's all kinds of wonderful resources available through that program. And I would really encourage you to reach out and see if the project is good for you. The other thing I wanted to show you is there's lots of different ways to access information about Better Days, Better Nights. So the Facebook page that you're on right now, there's also the email address. You can send them questions. And then there's the website. And just a mention too of the sponsors, because none of this work is easy. Kids Brain Health Network has been funding a lot of the work that the Better Days, Better Nights program has been doing, as well as the Canadian Network. Well, it's part of the Canadian Network of Centres of Excellence, right? And it's the first Trans-Canada initiative dedicated to understanding brain development and to help children and their families overcome the challenges of neurodevelopmental disorders. So it's really very important work that is happening at a national level. So thank you very much for your time and your attention. And I hope you all go out there and get a good night's sleep and role model for your children.